This
I'm sorry,
conference will now be recorded.
I always want to be environmental again. I'm not going to call the Public Parks Building and Recreation Committee meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. Present are committee members Heman Scarlett Limpert and Council President Brossard and our director, Mr. Pinchek. For discussion is Resolution 2022-85, a resolution authorizing the mayor to purchase a field turf indoor track for installation at the Recreation Center from Field Turf / Target Sports Company at a cost of $290,031.50 through the state purchase program, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all contract documents. We've taken a little bit of a look at this, but I think, Director, if you'd like to just lead us off, that would be great.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a project that will make a very positive impact to the Recreation Center, give us an amenity that nobody else in Western Cuyahoga County can offer as far as an indoor walking, running track, turf field in a recreation municipality center. So we have applied for the funds from the Cuyahoga County Council with the ARPA application, and that is going parallel with our city council meetings as well. And we are expected, and we have been given nothing but positive feedback that we should receive these funds on or around with the passage of October 11th to fully fund our project with the turf field. And the turf field idea came about because we are looking at programming for the whole community of North Olmsted, and currently we have limited opportunities in our recreation center in the back portion, which I will refer to as the field house, which is 24,000 square feet. Currently, we have pickleball and tennis on half of the facility, and we have a gymnastics independent contractor program that has been with us for over 20 years. But the demographics are limited for both programs. On one side, the gymnastics, we cater to ages preschool to young adults for generally the female population. On the other side, we do cater to a large demographic, but very limited programming with the space that we have. And the idea of the turf field would increase our capabilities as far as programming. It would increase our capabilities as far as giving members another amenity that they would already be able to use as part of their membership. We do not have a walking running track in the facility. This is something that over the course of time that the city of North Olmsted has looked into to provide the members there, but it's always been cost prohibitive based on the design of the center, how the track would be implemented. Most of the time it was a suspended track, and it just wasn't conducive to any of the times financially or probability when it was recommended. Now we have another alternative where we can increase our programming by a multitude of ways, from anything that is involved with a field to be played in there, from indoor football, baseball, soccer, lacrosse. We can do many, many, many things. We were just talking the other day that this time next year we could be, besides the indoor flag football league that can run year round, besides turkey bowls that could be organized for indoors, for just a different variety of things, from baseball and softball practices, not to mention how it will strengthen our relationship with the schools, because currently we have a joint agreement with the North Olmsted School District that allows us to use their school facilities when we need to, because we do not have basketball courts. We do not have indoor space that we need for our programming. So the thought would be similar to a concept that when I was the Parks and Rec director for the city of Fairview Park for over a decade, we built the Gemini Center and we allowed the schools use of our facility as well as their own to accommodate all their needs right after school from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. This would apply here as well in North Olmsted, where the schools would be using our indoor field from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock during the school year, also using their own facilities at those same times, allowing us to utilize school gymnasiums and such at an earlier time in the evening, getting our kids home, hopefully for dinner, earlier time for them to do their homework, and also increasing the opportunity for community groups to use school facilities as well as our turf. So this has been something that has been well thought of. Another piece of this has been the decline of um, revenue that has been coming in over the last couple of years in that back portion of the facility. The pickleball and the tennis, those numbers have dwindled. Our gymnastics program is a strong program, but it has not brought in the amount of revenue that it has in the past. And COVID played a huge part in that. But even since COVID, the numbers have not been as strong as they have been in the past. We feel that with the multitude of programs that we're going to bring in, the great opportunity for a lot of new, fresh ideas, we feel that this will be a benefit for the city. Another key point to this is we are close to an agreement with a healthcare provider to have an office space as well as do outpatient rehab in the recreation center. And they are aware of this idea and this project, and they would capitalize on this as well for sports rehabilitation. So that is a strong negotiating play that we have as well. So this is something that would put us, take a negative of our a rec center that was built in 1974 that was never had a gymnasium, to a positive and a leader that we would now have an indoor pool, an outdoor pool. Granted, that needs some work as well, but also an ice rink, a fitness center, a walking running track, an indoor turf field, to offer all those programs and amenities to the community. I could talk all night, but I'm the only thing on the agenda, so I just wanted to let you know. Any questions? Everybody's on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. I was writing and writing. Yeah, I'll do Mr. Scarl and then Mr. Broussard, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the director, Tim, two questions. First, the alternate two. Tell me what the sensors are, the Genius sensors, or what are those?
Absolutely. So the Field Turf Genius system that they have put on our quote, and that we feel would be a great amenity and value, these are sensors that are on the wall. So when you have a turf field and you have a sand base and you have the pellets on top of it, all the pellets gets displaced over time with the amount of use that you have from the amount of programs that you have on the field. So there is a grooming process, there is a leveling out of those pellets. Well, the Field Turf Genius is a system that will electronically let you know where your spots are that are low. It actually takes a picture of the field on an active basis daily, every other day, what have you, or whenever you key it up, and it will show you where the low spots are, so you can create the plan to attack those fields and groom them out, so that we always have the same impact that we need for safety on the field. So it's a safety precaution. A lot
Okay,
of your universities, colleges, professional sport teams that Field Turf has installed their facilities, they use this technology as well.
okay, yeah, I've seen it on the outside, and I've thought that's what it was. Same thing for an inside
Yep,
venue. It's for safety. You don't want anybody falling on pure asphalt. So I get that.
absolutely.
Okay, so thank you. The second thing is I was looking through the items that does not include in the quote. So
Okay.
two things that I'm pretty sure we don't have, but I just want to ask, are there any manholes or any kind of covers that are in that facility floor now? I've walked it many a times, but I never paid attention.
So
Um,
it's a great question. We just fixed some drainage in the facility this week. We had some water that was running into the northwest side of the tennis courts, and our service department and our water department came in there this week, and they have corrected the problem, and they put in some surface drains, as you will, on top of the concrete. So when we put the track, and I'll be working with the crew that comes in and does that, we'll be able to identify those areas. We'll be able to cut out sections that we can just kind of like a manhole cover that you can lift up and put back down, and so we can access anything that we need, wherever it's at in the facility.
so it'll be covered over with the turf, and it'll be marked however it's going to be
Correct.
marked.
Yep, correct.
Okay, so that's for the manholes. How about electrical work? Is there any conduits in that concrete that would have to be moved? Or is
So
there no electrical work in that floor?
there, to my knowledge, there's not, Councilman. There's, this is a pretty simple process, and as far as the installation, it involves removing. We're going to do some demo. We're going to take down the fence lines that are there. The turf is going to run from beam on the wall all the way to the other wall. So the whole floor will be covered. First and foremost, there'll be a pad that goes down. Then they put the turf down, and then the layer goes about. I'm just for the benefit of us, if it's a cup, 3/4 cup will be sand, 1/4 cup will be pellets. It's the safest and the best ratio as far as safety goes, and so that you'll have that on top of the turf.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, concerned with what's not included in case we had, say, come back and say, oh, we're going to have this, this, or this because it's not in a price. But those were the two main items that I saw, just either manholes or some kind of electrical work. So
You know,
um, you
if
answered those.
if I can expand one more point as well. So there was 5 different companies that I looked at, four of which, I'm sorry, 4 different companies that I looked at, 3 of which were on the cooperative purchasing pricing, including field turf. One was not. It was a smaller enterprise company that did not provide us the same quality, did not provide us the same timeline, did not provide us the same product, quite frankly. And we would have had to go out to bid on that one anyways because it wasn't part of the cooperative purchasing. Field Turf is world, United States renowned as far as their product. They are all over the college map for high school sports. They are all over the NFL, the professional soccer. They are the leader in the industry, and to get the pricing on the co-op purchasing was a bonus, honestly. So I'm very happy with the direction that we'll be going with this.
Okay. I believe our high school field is from them, right?
I
Field.
believe they are, yeah.
I
So
thought, I'm pretty sure they are. So, yeah, I'm done with the questions, Madam Chair, and I think this is going to be a great thing for the rec, for the residents. It's just, I think it's something that's long overdue, and I'm glad we're the first ones in recreation to be able to offer something like this. So, thank you.
I think it was Mr. Broussard, and then, but Mr. Broussard, would you defer to committee member Limpert?
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Mr. Limpert.
thank you, Ms. Heeman. So, Director, the previous master plan or the previous rec proposal, and obviously that didn't get approved, but there was a lot of talk about basketball courts um, in the facility, and I know you mentioned in there the shared service agreement, and we've talked about that before. Do we know how close we are to where we would have that formalized and can be able to communicate that as part of the rationale of why we're not putting basketball courts in the rec because we already have those in our community and may be able to leverage those as part of that shared agreement?
So great question. We actually meet, but when I say we, the 2 commissioners over at the Recreation Department, myself, meet with the business manager, Mike Tachek, as well as the AD from the high school. We started meeting since I've been here on a regular basis to keep the communication lines open. We reviewed the joint usage agreement and looked at some of the needs, specifically basketball and volleyball and gymnasium sports with the reduction of the 2 schools in the school system and the buildings coming down, obviously that reduces it even further. But the addition of the turf, taking some of those out of season sports out of the gymnasiums when they're practicing, we could be using that time, will make a big difference as far as how much time that we will have to be able to use those gyms. They are very excited about this possibility. We've talked about, implementing this as soon as we can. Right now, until this passes, until it's installed, our plan is to start programming this in late January, beginning of February. And at that point, a lot of the fall sports are already going on. Obviously, basketball is almost over. So to your point, Councilman, we are actively looking at more gym space and for our programs. And I believe we'll be satisfied with everything we need for this year, and we'll have more next year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking for a little bit of guidance of can we feel confident to be able to say that we will be able to share with the schools and their facilities to be able to enable more use of those volleyball, basketball, recreation activities as part of the city programming, or are we not there yet?
I feel like we are very close to being there, to making that announcement. And if you think about it, the schools use, the high school specifically uses our pool at the rec center for their programs, uses our ice rink for their program. Now they'll be using our indoor turf for their programs. So they know the scales are tipping that way, and that they are going to have to give back. We've actually had this exact conversation in some of these meetings. So, they are committed to making sure that the community has all their needs fulfilled, in the meetings that I've had with them. And I really don't have any doubts that that's the direction we're going to go. I've been through this before with the city of Fairview Park in developing these programs, and it worked like incredibly, when it was all said and done, up and running. And this will all be spelled out by legal teams, as far as what the times are, what the commitment is from both sides. So we're working towards that, and we will get there for sure. And I'm gonna throw out something else too. We've had, some talks that, the rec center is not done. I mean, we need a new aquatic center eventually, somewhere down the line. I'm not saying it's tomorrow. I'm not saying it's next year. I'm just saying somewhere down the line, and a gymnasium would be part of that as well. So a lot of good things are going to happen over there, as far as a lot of opportunities could open up as far as the turf goes, as far as our medical provider partner. So I'm really excited about where it's headed.
Okay. And then is there going to be, just a follow up on that agreement? Is there likelihood going to be some sort of cost? Um, if we have programming there in their facility and their gym, are we going to have to take on certain costs to pay them for usage of that, and allow them to be able to maintain that facility just as they would be using it, or is it going to be a net neutral? Is the goal of that agreement? I'm just trying to figure out how, from a revenue standpoint, are we strictly looking at, by putting on the turf, that is going to be, strictly revenue received and costs incurred by the city, and use of their facilities would be the same for the schools? Or I don't want to get into too many details, but I'm just trying to understand the value proposition of going with the turf versus like using basketball or volleyball
If I
facilities.
can jump in here for a second,
Yep.
I think this is getting too far off of our subject for right now, because I don't think that director has those answers for us yet. I mean, understand what you're saying. You're wanting to know, what's the revenue that we may be gaining or losing, right? By not having a basketball court. What we're accomplishing now is a broad range of services, and events for every level of resident versus, we're focusing on just volleyball or basketball. And unfortunately, I just don't think that it doesn't sound like, correct me if I'm wrong, director, but it just doesn't sound like the discussions have gone that far, Mr. Limpert, that he would know those things about that revenue. So what's in front of us is 2285, which is the proposal to, put in this turf project, and then let the director and the administration, continue down their path with the schools for those other shared services. And I do think that they've gotten probably a little farther than they have in the past, is what it is sounding like. But so I'll let the director jump back in, but I don't want to take us too far off the path of of what's in front of us. That's all.
Well, Miss Heeman, I would say that if we've done the assessment that the current revenue model isn't sufficient, unless we're losing money currently within that facility, which we probably are because it's a service and part of the building. But I mean, we're making a conscientious decision to say that the turf is going to be more valuable. So I'm trying to figure out what's that,
Value
how
is,
does that number come up, right? Or how, are we expecting an increase from it? And the reason is there's was previously other options that the recreation committees and previous administrations had evaluated as what would be the best use of that space, and we've changed that
I'm going
direction.
to correct you, Mr. Limpert, because
Yeah.
I've asked the previous administration point blank multiple times, do you want a basketball gym? Do you want a basketball gym in that space, in that space? The answer was always no. So it was never evaluated as that. It was that the previous administration wanted a brand new building with a gymnasium, right?
Yeah,
Not this.
somewhere else.
Not this. I mean, and I asked the question point blank
Yeah.
because it seemed to be the driver of what they wanted was a gymnasium. Well, they didn't, it turned out. So to get back to this, I guess the other thing is that it is losing revenue now, as stated previously by the director, the gymnastics and the pickleball and the tennis, right? And in a basketball program or volleyball program that is also likely offered by the schools, I think that's competing revenue of sorts. And why would we think that adult basketball is going to bring more revenue than all of these children's programs with flag football, soccer, all these indoor activities that they now don't have available to them, not even through the schools, really, right? So that's where I see this going anyway. So I just don't want to get too far off the path of trying to, stack up dollars. Um, against something that is an unknown, because no one did that assessment, because nobody really ever wanted this to be a basketball space or a gymnasium space. Okay, and did you want to continue, Mr. Limpert, and then
I'll let Mr. Scarl ask, and I'll listen.
Mr. Broussard, Scarl, do you guys want to, who, I'm happy, Mr. Broussard's been waiting, but Mr. Scarl's committee, so Mr. Broussard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Councilman Limpert, to the Director Pinchak, Madam Chair, we've had a community agreement with the schools for using their gymnasiums. I've been part of that for 25, 30 years. I'm not sure if Councilman Broussard has been, Council President Broussard, but they used our pool and ice rink. We used their gyms. We've had our basketball programs, our volleyball programs going on there for years. And during COVID, we got shut down, but you're working on a new one, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. And there was no shared, there was no money transfers for us using them. They always had a janitor there. The lights were always on. He swept up, he lowered basketball nets, he did whatever we had to do. And I'm sure that's going to continue in the future, but there's no cost for that. I mean, it's a shared thing. They share ours, we share theirs. And I think it'll work. And I think it's going to be even better when we can bring in some more revenue on our side of it. Forget about the schools per se, when we can have more programming and bring our income up that we need to do to make this rec center, a little more profitable. Maybe not profitable, that's the wrong word, but, self-sufficient. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Mr. Broussard,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you for being patient.
Of course, I recognize the hierarchy in these committee meetings. So, yeah, I just want to say that I like the plan, and I agree with Director Pinchak that this is going to set our facility apart with the competition, so to speak, with other recreation facilities in the West Shore area. So I'm pretty excited about it. I have a little bit of background as far as the gymnastics program that will be leaving the facility. I think that there was a kind of a splintering of ownership and management there, and I think somebody took and went and started their own program elsewhere, and so I just don't know that we would ever have the numbers to support a gymnastics program ongoing in our facility. I say that with a little bit of sadness, because my daughter spent about 15 years in that program. So, but that said, this is a really good program. I support it. I just had one other question with regard to the central elementary school that the school board is promoting. Do we know what kind of recreation facilities, if any, are going to be proposed with that facility if it moves forward?
Yeah, I can kind of try to answer that. So in our meetings, they briefly have touched on the new elementary school, and from what I have gathered, it will have another gymnasium in that building as well. They're talking about putting a track outside, for the community to walk and run. And other than that, as far as the recreation piece, I don't have any more information on that.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Just curiosity more than anything else. So, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Limper, please.
Yeah, and I just want to thank Mr. Pinchek. He's been extremely transparent with me as we've gone along this journey, and I'm super excited about the turf option. I just think it's important that we can capitalize on really enabling a new feature here in the city and help answer some of the other questions of why isn't it this, because that's been talked about in the past or been identified. And I think having a little bit more ability to share those, and Mr. Scarl, thanks for bringing up that, they have had intramural basketball leagues for adults, et cetera, in those school facilities before, so that will continue is good to hear. I just think it's really important that we can take what you've taken here to the community and explain how it's a win for not only our residents, but also, just an overall better experience for both children and adults to have the facilities that, people always say, my tax dollars, what are they going for? Well, they're actually going to be able to, you know, experience those facilities, not just from a recreation, but also from the school community. So I'm really excited about that. And again, thanks for working so closely with them so we can, expand our flexibility of and variation of resources here. And it also sounds like last time, Mr. Pinchek, you mentioned, there's still a possibility that those gymnastic programs are still going to be available somewhere in the city. Is that's still going down that path that we believe that will happen?
Yes, I do believe that's going to happen. The latest as of today, actually, working alongside Max Upton, our development director, he has been in contact with many brokers throughout the city. To set the timeline up for you guys, so August 3rd, we informed Carrie Tipton in the gymnastics program that we were going to go into a different direction at the end of this calendar year. So we gave her 5 months notice, letting her know that the program was going to change as far as the recreation department. August 17th, we gave her a contract for her to review and sign. It was basically just a continuation of a contract, with her contract expiring actually tomorrow, at the end of September. And taking her month to month, or taking her for the last few months of the year, whichever she prefer, a one lump sum. And with every indication that we were going in this direction and that we were going to make some changes at the end of this year. During that time as well, again, Development Director Upton has reached out to a few brokers, and I've been in those conversations. And as of today, he talked with one of the brokers that has been in contact with Carrie Tipton as far as, wanting to build out space for their program. They're very excited about her and the possibilities of her joining their little shopping center and signing a lease and the whole bit. And they're just waiting for her to submit her financials to them. So, all transparency, it looks like they are going to be, with the help of the city, somewhere in North Olmsted. I really can't go into more details because nothing's
Yeah.
done yet, but
Yeah.
but it looks very positive. So we're hoping that the program still stays in North Olmsted.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I would like to kind of add that, change is never easy, right? But change is what's necessary to move things forward and to move our residents to better services. Not going to lie, you might not guess it. I was a balance beam girl, parallel bars, and figure skating, right? So, and I have used many other facilities in other cities to do those activities when I was much younger, and they're all important. They're, any particular activity that a child, um, whether they're very young, middle-aged, high school, get in beyond high school, still wants to participate in, is a good thing, right? Because it's about their health, well-being, and providing services. I think, though, that our recreation facility will continue, as Mr. Pinchek said, to move forward in other directions, because obviously we know that we need a pool. It was tough, but we stepped up and did the right thing for the ice rink. And I'll tell you, people that come to the ice rink now are pretty impressed when they see how it is operating. So I have confidence that we'll be able to do those things in the other areas that we need to as well. So I think this is a very good project. Obviously, the funding is, fantastic for us that it's coming from the county. And I think we need to take advantage of that for our residents. We will also, Mr. Limpert, can push really hard. We can, work with the schools and move that forward as well, because I think that we've not had as good of an opportunity as we do now with this director to put that in place. So I'm confident that it'll all work out. And I want to know, are there any other questions or comments? Everybody good? All right, I'd like to make.
Madam Chair, if I could just add two more things really quick,
Yes.
To the Councilman Limpert's point. Our goal is to provide more opportunity, more revenue for programming. So, and I fully expect with the multitude of programs that we're going to put back there and the opportunities for our community that you'll see the increase in the finances. There's no doubt in my mind. We're going to come to you at some point, with an adjustment of membership fees as well, because we have not looked at that. I was told for many, many, many years of the recreation department, and maybe possibly adding a neighborhood fee, corporate rates, different things like that, that many of our surrounding cities capitalize on and take advantage of. So you'll see that. And I'm not talking $20 a person. I'm talking like maybe $5 at most a person, if it's even that, but all those things take into account. And then, again, the partnership that we have right now with the schools is really good. As far as I've had one-on-one meetings with Mike Tachek and in his office, my office, just I think it was my third day here on the job, because I know how important that is to have that relationship with the schools, because it's not just city, it's not just schools, it's all about community. So I think to answer all the questions that have been here tonight, I think this will be a huge positive for North Olmsted.
Thank you, Director. Finally, I'd also like to not let us forget that there will be a corporate partner coming in to assist with that, which could provide then additional revenue and then also help in the pool area, as that moves forward, as we develop that plan, to be another resource for therapy and things along those lines like other cities have. So yes, I think this is an amazing opportunity. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to all of Council 2022-85 and ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. And I would like to now conclude our meeting at 8:02 p.m. And I'd like to thank everyone for your patience and, setting up another meeting this evening. So hopefully I'll be back healthy again, and I'll see you all in person soon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Again,
everybody. Have a great evening.
Good
good night.
night.